Welcome back, everybody, to the Silent Hill 2 project. This is part 8A, where we're going to tackle the Labyrinth in the original game. And we'll go ahead and get started, but I'd like to say that this is probably the most convoluted and obscure part of this game. A lot of people, it's their least favorite area of the game. And, well, there's a few things to point out right off the bat. I guess a rifle's not the best weapon of choice for close range combat, so maybe I should switch over to the shotgun. Or maybe I should just go back to using a pipe. Just to try to make it a little bit scarier. Ow. Yeah, this isn't working out so good. So let's take care of that guy. All right, now, one thing to point out about this is that our map is a makeshift map. So we only know where we've been. We don't know where we're going. In any other area that we can actually get to in this place, if we haven't been there, we don't know about it. It's not on the map because James is making a map as we make our way through this place, if that makes sense. Okay, so, you know, it's one of those things where we're questioning if this is actually happening, if this is a real place, if we're really experiencing this. In my honest opinion, no, I don't think it's real. I really don't. And like I said, as soon as you go into the historical society and you go down that long stairway, I think that's basically when the game kind of shifts. And, you know, I called it, before what I called it was James entering into a major state of depression. And that's actually, you know, what I believe it is. I think it's connected with that particular stage of grief. And as we looked at the, oh God, he's just right there. Oh, he's just right there, right off the bat. Wow, great timing. Fantastic timing. I was gonna point this out as I made my way and finished my statement, but I kind of just messed everything up. Okay. Now that we're in here for the moment, we're safe at the moment. He's not gonna come in here after us, so we're good for the moment, as long as we stay in this room. Okay, so let me finish saying what I was gonna say. That as soon as you go down those stairs, I think that's when you are just completely immersed in the delusion. And we learned about what that delusion is and kind of how it works at the hospital when we read the notes about Joseph and we read the notes that the doctor left. Now the doctor, again, I know I've talked about this way too much and I need to just give it a rest, but the last thing I'll say is I was trying to interpret what I believe happened at the hospital with the doctor and with Joseph, and how the doctor is connected to James because he's already left several notes for James. and he talks about his patient leaving a key. Remember the statue of Jennifer Carroll that we went to in Rosewater Park? We dug up that box in the ground. We used the wrench to get the key to the Historical Society. Well, we actually found a note on our way down the stairwell at the last part of Brookhaven Hospital that it's like a really illiterate note. Let me find it in my memos real quick, because this is one that I didn't elaborate on very much. I just kind of picked it up and read it and kept going. Okay, I took the director's key, the one to the museum. I hid it behind the praying woman when I went out for the day trip. I picked it up, but I did not steal it. I'm not a criminal. And so, like, this key right here, I believe that it is Joseph. Did I say key? This note, I believe Joseph wrote this. I believe Joseph took the key, the director's key, and buried it by the statue in Rosewater Park. Now, the doctor also alludes to this. I'm just trying to point this out because I didn't really point it out in this way before. Or perhaps you are a fool. The truth usually betrays people. So this is the second note that you get after you pick up the one in the hospital on your way out. This is the note that's with the wrench. Okay? A part of that abyss is in the old society. So we came down that stairway in the Historical Society. The key to the society is in the park at the foot of the praying woman, inside the ground, inside of a box. To open it, I need a wrench. Notice how this note is from the doctor, and it says, to open it, I need a wrench. Okay, so the doctor left this note for James, you know, because he left the wrench for James. But it's interesting how he says to open the box, I, like speaking in first person about himself, I need a wrench. Why doesn't it say to open it, you need a wrench? It might be a typo, you know, that's a possibility. There are other obviously typos in this game. I've pointed some of them out, but if it's not a typo, then that means that the doctor was planning on doing something similar to what James is doing. And I don't think it's a typo because of another thing that I'm about to show you real quick. But the next thing he says about this is my patient buried it there. I knew. He knew about it. The doctor knew that Joseph put the key underneath the statue or buried it by the statue. I knew but did nothing. It made me uneasy to have such a thing near. So the doctor apparently had some kind of fear, you know, toward all this. He didn't want that key in the hospital, I guess, so maybe that's why he let Joseph take the key. Joseph calls it the director's key. There's some more notes that we find in the new game. They're the same notes, but there's a little bit more added to them. Then the last thing the doctor says is, I wasn't looking for the truth, I was looking for tranquility. So apparently the doctor, even though he tells James, you know, he says in that initial note that you get from the hospital, he who is not bold enough to be stared at from across the abyss is not bold enough to stare into it himself. Apparently, the doctor should say that about himself because he wasn't able to stare into the abyss. It's almost like he had a chance to do something similar to what James is doing. Why do I keep saying that? Well, because of the way that he words the other notes that I'm not going to take the time to get into right now. But I said a few times in my previous videos that something happened with Joseph and something happened with the doctor. And we already talked about how Joseph jumped off the roof. And the new game actually confirms this, which is really awesome. You know, the incident, I found a couple of notes about this. One of them was actually in that auto garage that I had to find a jack for to open up and get into. There's a note that I found, and it talks about an incident that happened at Brookhaven Hospital, and the residents of the town were afraid that it was going to repeat itself again. You guys remember me finding this note right here? Then when you get to Brookhaven Hospital, you find some more note. There's a note that you find in the doctor's lounge. I think that's the room that it's in. And it talks more about the accident that happened a few years back. And I believe they're alluding to Joseph jumping off the roof. I think that when Joseph jumped off the roof, something in his doctor snapped. So maybe his doctor initially was saying things like, furthermore, he's happy there. Why in the name of healing him must we drag him painfully into the world of our own reality? You guys remember the note that you initially find in the hospital of the original game? Then you find it at the end of the hospital in the remake. And I don't understand why they moved it, like they did, but I just haven't figured out why they've done that. Maybe they did it for a good reason. I don't know. But what I'm saying and what my point is that I think that when Joseph killed himself, something happened with his doctor. Like his doctor realized something and maybe was convinced. Maybe he had doubt before and he just wanted to treat Joseph, diagnose him, treat him, and try to cure him and just send him home, because that was another thing that the game alluded to a lot. Like they're trying to send Joseph home. And then the day that they release him is the day that he goes up to the roof and jumps off because he doesn't want to go home, because he blames himself for his daughter's death. Okay, but what if something happened when he committed suicide? What if something happened with his doctor? His doctor realized something, or maybe his doctor just became convinced by everything that Joseph was saying. And then that's what led his doctor to write all those notes for James. Maybe his doctor sees the similarity that we're supposed to see between Joseph and James. Or guys, think about it like this. If James and Joseph are both suffering with grief, which is causing them to have delusions in Silent Hill, causing the town to manifest things, could it not also be possible that something similar happened to the doctor? We get a little bit of evidence of this in the new game, which is actually pretty incredible. So once you find the 3 bracelets in the hospital of the new game, and you get the key to unlock that storage closet in the director's office, you go back there and you find this bulletin board with all this information and evidence about the 3 patients, the 3 new ones from the new game, posted up almost like a detective would do when they're trying to solve a crime. So could it be that after Joseph committed suicide, his doctor became obsessed with what happened to Joseph and also started to be affected by manifestations in Silent Hill due to the fact that he felt guilty for trying to force Joseph to take this medication in order to cure him? Think about it. That's pretty deep, isn't it? It's pretty crazy. I think maybe the new game is kind of alluding to something along those lines. Okay, I'm sorry I took so long to say that, but I think it's important. And it all goes back to my point about this place, that once you go down the stairway in the historical society and then you go into the prison, I pointed out the big picture on the wall that looked exactly like the room that you were in, and it had the corpse in the bottom right corner. I did that in the last video from the original game, Part8A. And I told you guys, I don't think that this place is real. I don't think this is really happening. And so all of that just to go back and say that, yes, this Labyrinth place, it's not really here. It doesn't really exist. It's kind of like nowhere in Silent Hill 1, I guess. I guess you could compare it to that. Check that out, though. That almost looks like one of the... Okay, there's 3 of them in here. You don't actually see it until the camera changes, but yeah, there's 3 of those in here. Kind of looks like the stuff you see in Silent Hill 1, right? Like in Midwich Elementary School. The corpses. Okay, we got the great knife. And there's some lore to show you about the great knife. Might as well do this while we're in here, and I just found this thing, so... You can't examine it. It just says, massive weapon wielded by Pyramid Head. Hard to use, but lethal. And one thing that I just recently found out that Masahiro Ito, I think I was mispronouncing his name before, said about this great knife is that it's actually a giant pair of scissors, and his whole main intent was for James to find one half of the scissors and Pyramid Head to have the other half of the scissors. But he said he didn't have enough time to design this thing to look like scissors, so he just went with what he had. And it is a weapon, and you can actually use it, but it's not practical at all. As you can see, it totally slows you down. And I wouldn't like, seriously, that literally is how long it takes to swing this thing. That's one swing animation. That takes, what, probably 5 seconds to do. Yeah, I wouldn't recommend using this, especially not against Pyramid Head. I don't think that would turn out well. Okay, so I wanted to come down here. It's totally optional. It's not mandatory that you even come this way, but I wanted to, just to show you what they call Pyramid Head's lair. And I got really unlucky because just as soon as I came down here, he was like right in front of my face, like that. So let's leave, because we don't need to be down there anymore. And actually, this other ladder, it just goes down to the very same exact area. I think I passed something up, but I'll show you exactly what we're trying to do initially. If I can find it. Here it is. Okay. So there's a ladder on the other side of this doorway, but there's like wire stretched across the doorway. So we need to find something to cut that wire with. So we need to go this way. No, just kidding. We need to go this way. Whoa. Oh, this room. Oh, you notice that it actually turns you away from the stuff that's behind you so you can't see it while you move this thing. So this is a really, really weird puzzle, okay? It's probably one of the most unique puzzles that gaming had ever seen up to this time. But this big statue looking thing, you actually move it, and as you move it, it changes the room that we were just in. I wanted to go in there to show you that there's a room behind us, or there was. To manipulate that room, you have to move this statue in various ways. And I've actually heard that as you manipulate the statue, it actually is moving the room behind you. This room, it's moving it in real time. So the whole room moves as you move the statue, and that's probably another reason why you're facing away from it, because they don't want you to see that. It probably looks weird in the game, honestly. But eventually you're going to change this room so that, you know, this door might open, or there might be another one over there, or this door in the back might open, and that's how you make your way through. It's pretty crazy.
You're alive! Maria, I thought that thing killed you. Are you hurt bad?
Not at all, silly.
Maria? That thing, it stabbed you. There was blood everywhere.
Stabbed me? What do you mean?
It chased us to the elevator, and then...
James, what are you talking about?
Just before! Don't you remember?
James, honey, did something happen to you? After we got separated in that long hallway? Are you confusing me with someone else? You were always so forgetful. Remember that time in the hotel?
Maria?
You said you took everything, but you forgot that videotape we made. I wonder if it's still there.
How do you know about that? Aren't you Maria?
I'm not your Mary.
So, you're Maria?
I am. If you want me to be.
All I want from you is an answer.
It doesn't matter who I am. I'm here for you, James. See? I'm real. Don't you want to touch me?
I don't know.
Come and get me. I can't do anything through these bars.
Okay. Stay right there. I'll be there soon.
Okay, guys. Yeah, she's back. But is she really back? Has she really been here all along? Like, was she there to begin with? I guess is what I should be asking. What the hell? We saw her die, now she's back. Okay, not only that, but I gotta say that this cutscene and that voice acting is probably some of the best voice acting in video game history. Now, the actor herself, her name is Monica Taylor Horgan. If you notice in the cutscene, she actually shifts characters because she does the voice of Mary and Maria. And right there in that one specific scene, if you pay really close attention, you can actually tell when she shifts characters. You can tell in her voice how it changes in a really, really subtle way. And there's just something about this cutscene that goes down in video game history as one of the best voice acting cutscenes ever made, like easily. But she says a few things that I want to point out. You know, it's extremely weird that she's back. I mean, we clearly saw her die, and you know, a freaking spear went straight through her torso, like that would kill anybody, right? Unless they were either not human, so some kind of immortal, demonic kind of thing, or maybe if they're just not real to begin with. And there are subtle clues. Like one of the biggest ones that I've already pointed out is that when you first run into Maria in the park, you don't even introduce yourself to her. She just knows who you are. Okay? She looks so much similar to James's wife, Mary, that he confuses her. He actually gets confused a couple times. Like the initial time that they meet in Rosewater Park, he thinks that she's Mary. He's like, Mary? No, you're not. Okay? So the resemblance between Maria and Mary to James, who was married to Mary for so many years, is even too much for him. It's too uncanny for him. The second time that he mistakes her as Mary is in the basement of the hospital. When she comes storming in, and he's like, Mary? Oh, it's just you, Maria. Anyway, good to see you, or some crap like that. And then she's like, anyway? What do you mean, anyway? And they have that whole fallout scene. Okay, so all this stuff should be subtle clues and hints that she's not actually real. I mean, even going back to the first room that you start the game in the men's room at the rest area that has the poster of Maria on the wall. Is that real? Was that poster really there? I don't think so. I don't think it was really there. I don't think it was real. And I think that James completely thought her up. There's also another theory, though, and it's a pretty good one. I mean, I'm not going to try to argue either side. I kind of already have, though, a little bit. I've kind of pushed my theory, or which theory I choose to believe, that Maria is a manifestation from James's psyche, that the town is just so happy to produce for him, you know, because that's what Silent Hill does to people. Just like if Silent Hill 2 can use Pyramid Head to assist James in punishing himself, sorry for giving that spoiler away, but if the town can do that, then why can't the town use James's sexual frustration to create this character that's not real to manifest for James, just to mess with him, just to throw him off, you know? The last thing that I'll say is I'll point out where she just made the comment. He's like, aren't you Maria? And she's like, I am, if you want me to be. There's a lot of debate, okay, because some people seem to think that Maria is actually like the spirit of Mary and basically trying to embody everything that she thinks James wanted her to be, maybe. And they've got some pretty good arguments. I will say they got some pretty good arguments, but I still don't believe that. I still believe that it's the town that's manifesting something that's in James's psyche. That's what I believe. I'm going to stick with that. But after watching that again, I kind of tried to show you how the voice actor shifts back and forth from character to character. One minute she's talking like Mary, and the next minute she's talking like Maria. And they totally have, you know, a different sounding voice. And not necessarily the tone of the voice, because James even says your face, your voice, just your hair and clothes are different the first time he sees Maria. So he's saying that their voice sounds the same, but I'm not talking about her tone or like the pitch of her voice. I'm talking about the way that she's talking. Okay, there's like something really powerful in the way that that voice actor delivered those lines, where you can tell it's a different person in the same body. It's insane how clear it is. And she just like, she nailed it. It was like perfect. And so, yeah, I wanted to point those things out. The last thing I'll say is she's waiting on us to get into that door. So we have to find a key. Ultimately, we have to get to that door. We have to get access so that we can go in there and get laid, because it's been way too long for James. And, you know, this is what the game has been leading up to all along. She's in there. She's waiting on us. Let's go get the key. No, I'm totally joking, but that might be something that crosses your mind the first time you play, because that's what the game alludes to, right? She's like, "Don't you want to touch me?" And he's like, "I don't know." So that is one thing in your head that could be a possibility, you know. But look what we have here. I wonder who put this, or how this happened, or why this happened. You know, is there some kind of lore behind this? I've always wondered how the wire cutters, exactly what we need to get through those wires that I showed you earlier, they're here now. This is some kind of like breaker box or something, right? Well, does it have any meaning to it? I'm no electrician, but there's like conduit coming out of that box. Can you actually see where it goes to? Like what's going on? What's up with this? Is this something that I should know that I've just overlooked? I don't know. Well, let's go back to those wires. Sorry I'm taking so long, guys. I finally feel like I'm at that point of the game where I've landed and I can actually take some time to talk about stuff that I've been wanting to talk about for, you know, this whole time. Okay, but we can use the wire cutters right here. Crazy again. We've got two ladders here, and this is why it's called the Labyrinth, guys, because it is a maze. That was the most unsatisfying stomp. That's a dead end. Wow. You're actually going to get up. I shot you like 12 times and you're actually going to get back up. Okay. I don't know where I'm going, in case you're wondering. No, it's been too long. I can't remember. And I've played the new game and got through the new game since I've played this version, so I don't remember what to do. But we're gonna wing it, and hopefully it doesn't take too long. What the hell was that all about? I guess he tried to get up. I feel like if I wing it and I get through this in a more organic kind of way, instead of checking some kind of walkthrough guide or something, I feel like it'll be more effective. I might actually get to see more stuff, unless I overlook something, which I'm really gonna try not to do. Come on, James. Seriously? Okay. Yeah, I think maybe I just got myself... Yeah, I think I'm doing it wrong, guys. Yet another area, though. Oh God, how did you get down here? This isn't your lair. Yeah, I went the wrong way. I remember kind of, sort of, now. Like, if you come into this area with Pyramid Head, then you went the wrong way. So that's not good. That's not good at all. This is a dead end. I need to get back to that original area, I think. Maybe if I can backtrack. Otherwise, I think I'm just going to keep getting deeper and deeper into this place. Ow. Oh God, don't die, dude. Don't die, James. Okay, cool. Making progress now. All right, we have found, interestingly enough, another newspaper on the ground here. It's stained with something that looks like blood and is partially illegible. The body of a man, later identified as Thomas Orozco, lumberjack, age 39, was discovered in the maybe living room, lying face down. The probable cause of death was multiple stab wounds to the front of the neck and the left side of the torso by a sharp-edged weapon. The estimated time of death was somewhere between 11 p.m. and 12:30 midnight. Due to signs of struggle in the room and the lack of a murder weapon, police are considering this a homicide and have opened a murder investigation. Furthermore, given the fact that the cash in the room was untouched and Mr. Orozco had a history of drunkenness and violence, the police suspect that the motive was not robbery, but was a crime of passion. Interesting, right? Oh, there's more newspaper in here. It actually says something about it. Newspapers are scattered all over the walls and floor. There seems to be nothing of interest. Look at this.
Daddy, please don't.
Boss fight. Oops. Don't open the map, James. Knock it off, Nick. It's so weird, like, doing stuff like, oh god. Okay, I think I'm good. It's weird doing stuff like this in the old game after playing the new game, I'm not gonna lie. Because the controls do feel so much more primitive.
Are you okay? Angela, relax.
Don't order me around.
I'm not trying to order you.
So what do you want then? Oh, I see. You're trying to be nice to me, right? I know what you're up to. It's always the same. You're only after one thing.
No, that's not true at all.
You don't have to lie. Go ahead and say it. Or you could just force me. Beat me up like you always did. You only care about yourself anyway. You disgusting pig.
Angela.
Don't touch me! You make me sick. You said your wife Mary was dead, right?
Yes. She was ill.
Liar! I know about you. You didn't want her around anymore. You probably found someone else.
That's ridiculous. I never...
Yeah, guys. So finally, we have somewhat of a clue about what's been going on with Angela this whole freaking time. Now, this boss that we just took down is called Abstract Daddy. I'm sure everybody knows about that, and you guys know about what the actual creature design or monster design depicts. Two people on a bed, one like over top of the other one, and it's very suggestive and it's very disturbing. So what you're supposed to do, and the way that the game articulates this, is extreme and subtle and obscure at the same time. And it does it in its very unique Silent Hill-esque kind of fashion, because everything about this scene is so symbolic. There's so much meaning in everything that we just witnessed, and all the details, even down to the details of the room. Obviously, as you can see, the walls and what the walls are depicting, like pistons going in and out. And initially, I think what you're supposed to do is just experience this, take it all in, and interpret it for its meaning, because it tells it gives it away, it gives you the answers, but it, like I said, it does it in its own unique Silent Hill kind of way, and it tells a story. So obviously, you know, everybody that's a fan of this game, I'm sure they've heard all the details about the room, about the, you know, the walls, they look like flesh, and the pistons again going in and out, and what that means and what that interprets. Then the monster itself, Abstract Daddy here, and what that depicts. I'm not going to say the word on YouTube because it might actually hurt my video if I use the word. A 4-letter R word that ends in E, yes. And so Angela, we find out, was actually a victim of her father. I don't think we can go back to that picture. No, we can't go back to the picture. But you guys remember in the Blue Creek apartment, the room that we had the cutscene with Angela in. Now there are so many hidden messages, and in that cutscene, there's so much information in that cutscene that it's incredible. Like, all the answers for the game are basically in that cutscene. Maybe not all the answers in the game, but a lot of them really are in that cutscene. And what she has to say to you in there. And then you find the picture on the floor of her family that's ripped in half, and it's got her father and her brother on one side and her mother on the other side. Again, we find out at the beginning of the game that she's here because she's trying to find her family. And again, we don't know if they're dead or not. It's weird that she was looking for her family in a cemetery, and we know that James is looking for his wife, which he said is dead. So we're kind of under the impression that the people that she, you know, her mother, her brother, her father, that she mentioned could also be dead. Well, it's not until you find this newspaper article that you realize Thomas Orozco, it's got to be her dad. You know, her dad, age 39, lumberjack Thomas is his name. And, well, from what we just witnessed, obviously he was he basically was murdered by Angela. So we can put that together and see that, you know, she was sexually abused by her father, and they found his body in the home. They think it happened somewhere between 11 p.m. and 12:30 midnight. There's some more clues in here. But then you get to when it starts talking about the murder weapon. A sharp object. Well, this is Angela's knife. And as you can see, there's blood on it, like I've said this entire time. Whose blood is that? It's her father's blood, right? Now, again, going back to earlier in the game, right after we meet Angela in the cemetery, we found the newspapers lying on the ground. And we saw all the newspapers outside of the store. They're all over the walls, all over the floor. But they're also, you know, in the apartments. I can recall pointing out different areas of the apartments where there are newspapers, and we know that Angela was at the apartment. So this is why and how we find out how the newspapers are actually connected to Angela. So what was she doing? Was she on the run? What we're trying to do is we're trying to put it together, the events and how it happened. So apparently she killed her father and she went on the run. So when I said Angela is the woman in flight, it kind of sucks that you can't go back to these pictures that we found in the prison, but the woman in flight picture, well, that's how I believe it's representing Angela. She killed her father and then she fled. She fled with the murder weapon. She came to Silent Hill. She said she's looking for her mother, right? Okay, she's looking at newspapers. Maybe she's trying to get clues so that she can stay 2 steps ahead of the law because she doesn't want to get caught for what she did. She murdered her father. Maybe that's what it is. Maybe that's all it is, but maybe that's not all it is. So I hope you guys can see that you know, how she could easily be considered as the woman in flight. Not only do you find the picture about her in the previous area before you discover the newspaper article and you have to fight the game's representation of her father called Abstract Daddy, but you find the picture of the woman in flight right before the next area of the game where all this happens and you discover all this. So does she qualify as the woman in flight? Yeah, I would say so. I think the game's trying to hint around to you that is the case, and it's got way more to do, and it's way more connected with Angela than it is that other woman, Jennifer Carroll, that, you know, we only find one statue about in Rosewater Park, and it's like surrounded by all these other statues that all have the same theme, and it's all about memory, right? So my last question would be, if Angela really is the woman in flight, then what the hell do those other 2 paintings, the 436 people at a recital and the Burning Man, if we find those with the woman in flight, then how are those other 2 paintings related to Angela? I'm going to show you how in the next episode when we're at the hotel. So we'll move on from here. I'm doing a lot of talking in this episode. I'm sorry, but there's so much I want to show and talk about. You know, it's crazy. We're sitting here. We've been carrying a freaking murder weapon around throughout the whole game, and we didn't even know until just now. That's like a huge plot twist. And that just explains why she's so uncomfortable around James. Not only that, but she just basically told James what she thinks about him. Like, you didn't want Mary around anymore. So she sees the truth that he doesn't even see about his own story. We actually need to come into this room. And we've got this puzzle. Look familiar? dead men, swinging in a tree. How many dead men do you see? Tongue turned blue and face gone gray. Watch them as they twist and sway. The first one killed the butcher man, then cooked him in the frying pan, served him to his hungry guests, and gave them seconds on request. The next one, with his smile and sweets, stole poor children off the streets. To men who dressed unsavory, he sold them into slavery. Breaking into a home at night, the thief he had a nasty fright, filled his foolish head with ale, woke in the morn in the county jail. The artist with his daunting skill tried his hand at painting bills, but caught in rain he was undone, when the ink he'd used did start to run. With promises of great return, taking gold he did not earn, bundled it up out of sight, quietly slipped off into night. 3 houses into ashes burned, the sheriff with no place to turn, did spy a stranger to his town, locked him up and beat him down. Dead men, swinging in a tree. How many dead men do you see? 6 feet long and 6 men wide, round their necks the noose be tied. It's very obscure, isn't it? Like, if we didn't do the puzzle in the remake at the prison, would we really understand or know what to do here? Well, you're basically doing the same thing, but you see how obscure that is compared to the new game. And the poetry, I think it's better. Honestly, I think that reads a lot better. I think it feels like it's more creative, and it's not just words that are put together because they rhyme. But they're like carefully crafted, creative lines in the poetry, and it flows off the tongue very well, and it's cool. But anyway, what we're doing here is we're trying to figure out which one is innocent. And you actually, let me go back to this other room and verify this, but there's 6 of them all together, okay? And they're not numbered. So how are you even supposed to know which one of these represents what? Only the sinless one can help you here. Mistakenly pull on a criminal rope, and your reward will be returned to you in a shape most wondrously strange. What does this sign actually say right here? It says, "Notice, pull ye but once on a rope's frayed end, go and return, and the error be mended. Beware, though the punishment sended." So I'm probably going to get it wrong. I got it wrong. Oh, I'm so stupid. This is how you figure out which... I'm sorry, guys. God, I'm an idiot. Thievery. Okay. No wonder it's not working. God, I'm an idiot. Kidnapping. Swindling. Murder. Arson. Okay, it's that one. It's the one in the middle. God, don't I feel stupid. Now I gotta kill more of these things. Wow. You're like immune to buckshot or something. Wonderful. Sorry guys, it's been a long time since I played this game. It slipped my mind. It's actually, no, don't pull that. It's this one. It's this one. Come on, James, get it right, man. There we go. Key of the Persecuted. The paper that was covering the corpse's face is lying here. Okay, nothing else.
Maria? Maria? Maria, no! What happened to you? Why? Why? Mary.
There's nothing more that I can do here. You guys saw her face, right? Obviously you did. So what I've heard is that the actual illness that Mary had was like a skin condition, like a really bad skin cancer, like a melanoma type of deal or something like that. And basically what it does is, like, doctors, you know, they consider your skin as like one particular organ in itself in your body. And this sickness that she had, it was like eating her skin from the inside out, and you guys saw what her face looked like. So basically I think what he just saw was like Mary in Maria's clothing, you know what I'm saying? Or maybe Maria in Mary's skin, I don't know. But like, it's just another way that the town is like getting to him. In this next section right here, it's like, well, before I even step out here, I'll just go ahead and say that it goes along with everything that we've gathered, and some of the puzzles that we've done, like the coin puzzles. Sorry, the 3 coins in the apartments, you know, the coin puzzle there, and the tablet puzzle, or it wasn't really a puzzle, but the different tablets that we got in the prison. So again, I'll just reiterate on what I was saying in those previous videos, that the 3 coins represent James, Eddie, and Angela, just like the 3 tablets. Well, when you come out here, what do we find? It's a graveyard, but there's like 3 specific graves back here that have holes in them. You know, holes in the ground. There's a name inscribed on the tombstone, Eddie Dombrowski. Angela Orozco. James Sunderland. Okay, so after I gather my thoughts real quick, I'm going to talk about everything that we've experienced from the point that we went down the big long staircase in the historical society up until this point. Like, what has all of this meant? I called it James entering into a big stage of depression. And I said that this is one of the Kubler-Ross's 5 stages of grief. Remember what those stages are. There's denial, anger, bargaining, depression, acceptance. Okay? Now, it doesn't even really have to go in that order, but if you've got somebody that's dealing with grief, they're going to go through any one or maybe all 5 of these stages. But it doesn't have to go in order, but maybe since, you know, if we are in a stage of depression, and clearly we are, James is standing here, he's got nothing left. He just lost what little hope he did. I mean, at least he did have, you know, it gave him hope for a second, like a glimmer of hope that maybe Maria was actually real and maybe she was alive. But, you know, I mean, we just saw what she looked like. She's not alive. And she's actually not even real. And that's my opinion. But if he's got nothing left, he's just standing here facing his grave right now. And there is actually a hole that we are going to jump down. There's some other stuff in this room. Miriam K. Traitor. So this one tombstone right here, you can't actually read. It says Miriam K. Traitor. And And that name Miriam, we know that name because that's the name of one of the kids that was murdered by Walter Sullivan. That's what the little trivia prize game thing that we did in the elevator at the hospital. But her name was Miriam Locane, and this says Miriam K. So nobody really knows what that means or who that is, if it's the same Miriam. And even if it is the same Miriam, why is she in this graveyard? It's random, isn't it? This felon drank the last bottle of ale before he was executed and laid here to his eternal rest. That's kind of random too. This post is kind of random too. What does that mean? There's another one over here. This is such a weird room. If you guys have ever noticed, it's got grass growing in it, but there's like a ceiling and there's like fluorescent lights. What the hell is up with this room? It's weird, isn't it? It's like we're outside in a graveyard, but we're really not. There's a ceiling in here, and it is the fluorescent lights like making the grass grow. It's weird, isn't it? It's really freaking weird. So guys, there is actually one last thing that I want to point out to you before we go down. And I want you to look at the tombstones for James, Angela, and Eddie. And I want to ask you, does this seem familiar? Like the layout, the order, the way that it's set up, does it seem familiar to you? It should. Well, if you can recall the coin puzzle that I already mentioned from Blue Creek Apartments, and remember the order that the coins actually go in. It says, at one end sits the seducer of she, which I said was, the serpent coin, which I also said represents Eddie. And if you look, Eddie's grave is actually on the right side where we put the serpent coin into that little thing, the hole on the right side. Okay. And it also says, the old one beside the serpent sits not, 'tis to the prisoner's left that he doth rot. And that would mean that James, being the old man, would be to the left of Angela, the prisoner. And if you look at the layout of the graves, that's in fact how we've got it set up here. So you've got Eddie the serpent on the right, Angela the prisoner in the middle, and James the old man to the left. So what that does is it sets you up for the foreshadowing of this event of jumping down into your own grave much earlier in the game in the apartments. That's a foreshadowing thing. Maybe that coin puzzle is alluding to this moment when James discovers these graves, including his own. Okay, it also reinforces my theory about the coins and who they actually represent. You've actually got proof of it right here. So I just thought that was interesting to point out. Anyway, there's only one thing left to do, and that's go down in our own grave. And guys, I'll be happy to tell you that this is actually the last time that we have to jump down into a hole. How many holes did we jump down into? We're still going down. We're going down another freaking staircase, but it's not as long. Did you guys notice look at the fog right here. It's like coming out of the vents. Interesting. Oh, this kind of reminds me of The Shining or something. It's like all covered in blood right here.
Eddie, what are you doing?
What does it look like? He always busted my balls. You fat, disgusting piece of shit. You make me sick. Fat ass, you're nothing but a waste of skin. You're so ugly, even your mama don't love you. Well, maybe he was right. Maybe I am nothing but a fat, disgusting piece of shit. But you know what? It doesn't matter if you're smart, dumb, ugly, pretty. It's all the same once you're dead. And the corpse can't laugh. From now on, if anyone makes fun of me, I'll kill him. Just like that.
Eddie, have you gone nuts? I knew it.
You too. You're just like him, James.
Hey, I didn't mean anything.
Don't bother. I understand. You've been laughing at me all along, haven't you? Ever since we first met. I'll kill you, James!
Ow. Gosh. I forgot that you actually had to fight in this room. This is bad. I mean, it's nothing. Like, I am actually, I really have a good advantage going on right here, but. There we go. Okay. It looks like he killed more than one person, doesn't it? Well, let's take a closer look at all these bodies. And I think this is a good time to point something out, okay? If you guys, I know the lighting's kind of weird and everything looks green in here, but if you take a close look at the bodies in here, the outfits that they're wearing, sorry, I'm just really trying to take a really good look at this before we move on. And for me, it all comes down to the jacket. What color is the jacket? It's hard to tell because of the lighting. Is that jacket green like James's jacket, or is it brown? Like the body that we found next to Eddie in the prison. It almost looks brown. So, I mean, it's weird though. Some of them look green, some of them look brown. So there's no picture on the wall in this room to replicate the room itself. But do you guys think that these bodies are real? Or is it like what we found in Toluca prison, with the picture on the wall of the room we were standing in with the same body sitting at the table. And I've heard a couple different things. I've heard that these bodies are all James's character, his 3D model, and there's symbolism in that. Like that one right there, that one actually does kind of look like it's wearing the same outfit as James. Sort of. But these over here, they don't. Some of these jackets, they look brown, like the body that we found in the prison. Maybe it's both. So what I've heard is like, honestly, what I've always heard up until recently is that the bodies are James, and it's supposed to represent how many times you die trying to get through this boss fight. When you don't make the mistake that I did and mess your emulator up before you start doing a freaking lore run. Honestly, what I believe is that we've got James's manifestations colliding with Eddie's manifestations. Now, I've talked about this prior to this point too, that if James is seeing things and having delusions, then that means Eddie and Angela are also seeing things and having delusions. One good thing to point out about what we already witnessed in this episode is whenever we go to fight the abstract boss Daddy, and Angela, she's like kicking the crap out of it after it goes down, and she's throwing a TV on its head. Well, do you think that Angela is actually seeing the same thing that James is seeing? Or do you think Angela is seeing her father in that moment whenever she's doing that? Honestly, I don't think that she's seeing the abstract daddy monster like James is seeing. I think she's actually seeing her father. And if she's having that manifestation of her father and James is seeing it or interpreting it as a monster, it kind of clashes with what I'm about to tell you right now about this, but what if these bodies right here, what if they belong to Eddie's manifestations? Except for maybe that one right there that does kind of look like James to me. Well, that would mean that they're just like the corpse that we found in Toluca prison, so they're not really there. And there's another thing that I'm going to point out. I'm not going to do it yet, but I'm going to kind of pick up on that point in the next part whenever we do Lakeside Hotel and after, you know, some things happen in the game to kind of seal the deal for this. But just keep this thought in mind, that if the body we found in Toluca prison is not real, then that must mean that these bodies aren't real either. Okay, and that's all I'll say about it. We'll move on.
Do you know what it does to you, James? When you're hated, picked on, spit on, just because of the way you look, after you've been laughed at your whole friggin' life. That's why I ran away after I killed the dog. Ran away like a scared little girl. Yeah, I killed that dog. It was fun. It tried to chew its own guts out. Finally died all curled up in a ball. Then he came after me. I shot him too, right in the leg. He cried more than the dog. He's gonna have a hard time playing football on what's left of that knee.
You think it's okay to kill people? You need help, Eddie.
Don't get all holy on me, James. This town called you too.
You and me are the same. We're not like other people. Don't you know that? Let's party!
Just don't give him a chance. Alright, I'll make it more interesting, guys. Ow, he just got me though. Pretty good. Trust me, I'm going to suffer in the remake because I'm not in the same circumstance.
Eddie? Eddie? I killed a human being. A human being. Mary. Did you really die 3 years ago?
Interesting that he makes that statement now. Now, before we move on, and I'm sorry guys for totally killing the freaking action in that boss fight. But the fact is, I kind of messed the game up when I started. It was doomed from the start. I made a critical error, and I've already explained to you what it is and what's going on with my game. That my emulator did this to me kind of without me realizing it, and I just didn't have enough time to start all over again. But he makes that statement. He says, I killed a human being. A human being. And so why does he make that statement? Is it because he's been killing monsters this whole time? This is the first human being that he's actually killed, and he feels different? Well, that's what I used to think, but he's actually having somewhat of a recollection. That's why the next thing he says, the very next thing he says, is, Mary, did you really die 3 years ago? Well, he's having a he's remembering. He's remembering certain things. Remember I said the game's all about memory, right? And somebody that is dealing with grief is going to have a lot of repressed memories, especially James. I mean, there's examples of it all throughout the game where he's repressed so much he just doesn't know. That's another reason why the cutscene in the hospital with Laura right before you have to fight Flesh Lips, when she says that she met Mary in the hospital last year, James lashes out and says, "You liar!" to her. Well, that's one of the 5 stages of grief. It's anger, right? It's denial, and it's also anger. Like, whenever somebody reveals something to you that you just don't want to see, you're going to lash out in defense and get angry. Now, this is a good time to bring this up because so far, I don't know if it's actually at this point or not, but so far we've had this letter that we've been carrying around, and it says, you know, I've already shown it to you. I showed it to you at the beginning of the game, but it says that's definitely Mary's handwriting in the note. But what the hell? What happened to the handwriting? It says there's nothing written on it. But we read it earlier. It had writing on it. What the hell? It's just a blank piece of paper now. Okay, so that actually happens. It triggers after you have this boss fight with Eddie. Okay, so that's interesting as hell, isn't it? Like, I didn't even know about that until just recently. But yeah, it changes. And guys, speaking of this boss fight with Eddie, because I know I've been ignoring the elephant in the room, right? Well, this is one of the things that most people usually talk about, so I didn't want to focus as much on it. But obviously, with Eddie being in his situation, he's one of those people that have had to put up with bullying his entire life. He's been pushed around, kicked around, abused, mocked, made fun of, and it's just one of those really sad situations. And this alludes back to what I said in a previous video. If you have some real life experiences, then you'll really connect with this game. It's another reason why people love this game so much. It's just such a loved piece of art because so many people can relate to it. And I, for one, I definitely have been there. Maybe not as severe as Eddie, definitely not that bad, but I have been bullied, you know, I've been mocked, I've been made fun of, so I can relate to where he's coming from. But it's a real thing. Like, you see this happening in real life where people just, they're abused their entire lives and one day they just snap. It's a grim situation at that point. Well, this is just depicting it in a video game, and it's a hard, heavy, real kind of dilemma issue that humans have. It's like the thing with Angela and the abuse that she had from her father, you know. It's something that happens to real human beings. Therefore, a lot of people that play this game can relate with these things and connect with them. But we will get more into the analysis, talking more about Eddie and Angela, breaking their situations down in my retrospect videos that I will make after I'm done playing the game. The only other thing I want to mention about Eddie right here is that he does mention the football player having some kind of violent encounter with this person, and we actually kind of get an idea as to why he came to Silent Hill, because when you first run into Eddie in the apartment building, he's in that apartment with the dead body. That dead body looks extremely different from any of the other dead bodies that we've seen around Eddie. So therefore, you know, I take it to mean that that could actually be a real dead person. But in fact, he doesn't actually allude to killing the guy. All he says is that he's going to have a hard time playing football with what's left of that knee. He killed the dog, and then the next thing he mentions is the football player whose, you know, apartment we were in. We went into his room, I showed it to you, with all the football posters up, and we know that it's somehow related, and perhaps that's what brought Eddie to Silent Hill to begin with. Maybe he had some kind of vendetta out for this guy that was like mocking him, and it was a past bully from his life, and he snapped, and he just, you know, made plans to get his revenge on the guy, and maybe that's what brought him to Silent Hill to begin with. We don't ever really know, but that's kind of the idea that I have in mind. We're finally back outside, and it's like daylight. It's still foggy, but man, I miss daylight. Man, it's been a while. So where are we? We're right behind the Historical Society. So you mean to tell me that we done went down a staircase that was almost a mile freaking long, went through a big prison, jumped down a dozen freaking holes and went down an elevator shaft. Went through a labyrinth that was not small. It was a pretty big place. Found our way through that thing. Jumped down our own grave. Went down another freaking staircase. And came out right behind the freaking Historical Society. Guys, it's right behind us. It's right up there. I mean, we must have descended about 1,000 feet into the earth. Yet somehow we're coming out right here behind the Historical Society. It might be, 15 feet up above our heads, right up there. Well, that's your last clue to realize that everything that happens between the Historical Society and the point that you fight Eddie is not real. And that's your last clue. And you see the light. So if we're at the Historical Society, that means we're to the left of Rosewater Park. We're right on Toluca Lake now. So where it says Nathan Avenue, right there in the top left corner of the blue box, that's where we are. But we're right on Toluca Lake. So that means we're about to get in a rowboat, go across Toluca Lake to the Lakeview Hotel in a rowboat. If you guys notice, it looks like there's an island right there in the middle. He was kind of facing a different direction, so I gotta find the light. There it is. We can't actually see where we are. Like, there's no representation of where we are on the big map. So yeah, we can't see where we are anymore. So we don't really know how to track our way. Even if we wanted to try to go check that island out, I don't think we could do it. Does that light looks like it's getting bigger, right? So we're actually moving. This is another point where you're thinking about that note that you read in Toluca Prison about the little Baroness, the shipwreck, and the bony hands reaching up out of the water. Perhaps they're reaching for their comrades. So the first time I played this game and I did this, I was like, oh my gosh, are there going to be like hands coming up out of the water trying to grab me? This place hasn't changed at all. And well, guys, we made it. We made it to the final area of the game. We made it to the end of this video. This is where I'm going to call it at the Lakeview Hotel. So we will literally just use a save state right here. It's a nice camera angle to end things on and start things in part 9A. So thanks for watching. I hope you're enjoying this. I hope I'm not delivering things in too poorly of a way. I kind of envisioned the way that I was going to do this, and I'm trying to hit the mark with how I deliver things and reveal things to you and share the lore and everything, and the analytical aspect of it. And I just want to make sure that I do a good job with that. So if you enjoyed this, leave a comment, let me know what you think. If you disagree or if you agree with me, let me know. And thanks for watching. I'll see you guys in the finale of the original game in part 9A. But for now, we're going to get on to the next video, which is part 8B, where we'll be tackling the Labyrinth in the remake. So looking forward to that. I'll see you guys then. Take it easy. Bye.